Hello and welcome to Politics Tonight, where we dig and go beyond the headlines for informed analysis of major political stories in Nigeria. I am Olajumoke Olatunji. Nigerian Senate yesterday passed the vote of confidence on Nigeria's security authorities. On the interview segment for today, our focus is on dollar illiquidity and matters arising with Ayobami Oyalawo, a development economist, as our guest tonight. Welcome to Politics Tonight, everyone. Please stay with us. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Politics Tonight. Thank you so much for staying with us. Now let's begin with some developments in the polity. Nigeria Senate yesterday passed the vote of confidence on Nigeria's security authorities. The Senate also commended security agencies for their efforts at apprehending perpetrators of crime who are now facing the full wrath of the law. Jason Adeoye has details in this report.
Major interactive session.
For 9 hours, senators, Nigeria's security chiefs, and heads of intelligence unit were locked behind closed doors to discuss Nigeria's security situation and possible solutions to tackle insecurity in the country. The lawmakers are getting more frustrated with daily reports of terror and attacks ravaging communities across the country. After a thorough interrogation, the Senate appears to be pleased with the efforts of the security agencies to keep the country safe. However, the Senate pointed out the urgent need to strengthen synergy and intelligence sharing among security agencies in their operations to guarantee the security of lives and properties in the country.
The Senate was impressed that almost 90% of perpetrators of heinous crimes in the country, including the ones recently reported in Buhari, in Abuja, have been apprehended, and many of them are already in detention to face the wrath of the law.
The Senate commended the executive for procuring new equipment to combat insurgency and urged Nigeria's finance and coordinating minister to ensure immediate release of all funds needed by security agencies to tackle all forms of insecurity and keep Nigeria safe.
The Senate also pointed out that yes, appropriations have been met and releases made, but the Senate urges the Honorable Minister of Finance and Coordinating Minister of the Economy, who himself also gave briefing, to ensure immediate implementation and releases of all funds needed by security agencies in order to combat the insurgents, and also procure equipment to fight the insurgents and banditry in the nation to keep Nigeria safe.
After 9 hours intense questioning and interactions with security chiefs and other relevant stakeholders, the Senate says it is satisfied with efforts made so far to guarantee safety of lives and property, but they want the security authorities to adopt the Senate's final resolutions to curb the rising insecurity. Jason Adeoye, TVC News, Abuja.
To the education sector, where the Academic Staff Union of Universities says it is not happy with the federal government's response to the welfare of lecturers in Nigerian universities. At ease, it has failed to meet the union's demand. President of ASUU, Professor Emmanuel Osodeke, stated this at a press briefing held at Michael Okpara University of Agriculture in Abia State. Let's head back to Abuja, where the All Progressives Congress and the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, attended conflicting election results in the 11th of November 2023 Bayelsa governorship election. The contradictory results were brought before the Election Petition Tribunal sitting in Abuja. Our judiciary correspondent, Celestina Ria, has more.
At the commencement of the hearing of the petition, an APC polling unit agent, Odungele Moses, adopted his statement on oath, which he deposed to on the 1st of December 2023. Led in evidence by counsel to the petitioners, the witness maintained that the election took place in his polling unit 15 Ward 4, which he claimed was issued to him by the INEC presiding officer. While INEC tendered its own certified results, the APC polling unit agents tendered different results in respect to the places they represented the party. The two conflicting results were objected to by different parties. The chairman of the tribunal, Justice Adekunle Adeleye, admitted them as exhibits for the tribunal consideration during the hearing of the petition. However, during cross-examination by counsel to Governor Diri, the witness admitted that although 16 political parties participated in the governorship election, only APC, which he represented as an agent, signed the result he tendered. A former Minister of Petroleum Resources, Timi Silva, and his party APC had dragged INEC, the elected Bayelsa State Governor, Doyedri, and the People's Democratic Party before the tribunal. The petitioners are praying the tribunal to hold that the election took place in 3 different local government areas where INEC claimed the election did not hold due to alleged diversion of election materials and disruption of election process. The affected 3 local government councils are Southern Ijo, Ogba, and Nimbe. Another witness, Molly Afin, who also testified for the petitioners, tendered APC results which had same serial number and number of accredited voters with that of INEC, however, had different number of votes recorded for the different political parties. During cross-examination by counsel to Governor Diri, it was discovered that the result tendered by APC in Ward 002 was prepared and signed by the presiding officer in Ward 015. Hearing in the petition is adjourned until 15th of February.
The witnesses they call, we might not even have the need to call any witness if we see what they have brought before the court and it doesn't warrant any reaction from us. So we'll rest on their case and ask the tribunal to dismiss their case.
We have 224 witnesses to be called. So, and depending on the surrounding circumstances and the discretion of the tribunal, because we are talking about polling units, not wards. And you agree with me that in some wards you can have like 10 polling units, and you can have like 20 wards. Are you getting what I'm saying?
Yes.
And more than that in the local government. If you add that in 3 places, you discover that there is a reason for us to, call as much as that number of witnesses.
Governor Doyedri won the polls by securing over 175,000 votes to defeat the candidate of the All Progressives Congress, Timi Silva, who secured 110,000 votes. According to the results, Governor Diri won elections in 6 local government areas, while Timi Silva won in 2 local government areas. Celestina Area, TVC News, Abuja.
Let's take a short break, and when we return, it's a time to speak with our guest of the day, Ayobami Oyalawo, a development economist, tonight discussing dollar illiquidity and matters arising. Let's stay with politics tonight, everyone. We'll be right back. Welcome back, everyone. Tonight it's about the economy as we focus on dollar illiquidity and matters arising. Development economist Ayobami Oyalawo is our guest for tonight. Mr. Oyalawo, good evening to you. It's been a minute. Good to see you again. Thank you for joining us this evening.
Good evening. Nice to be in your studios again after a while. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for joining us. Now let's start this conversation with CBN's new directives to banks on foreign exchange risk. Precisely 2 weeks ago, that's on February 1st, the Central Bank of Nigeria continued its foreign exchange market reforms by removing the limit on the forex rate quoted by international money transfer operatives. This is aimed at strengthening the naira, and this is according to the Central Bank of Nigeria. How optimistic are you about these latest steps?
Well, I will have to wait and see how far the CBN directives go. I think we have allowed a lot of irregularities to become regular in our system, and this is where we have found ourselves. If you take your mind back to, let's say, 20, 15 years ago, even, yeah. You remember that we didn't have a dollar economy, we had a naira economy. Anybody who is traveling abroad who need dollars or whatever currency, you get what you call the traveler's checks. That's when the Thomas Cooks of this world, their traveler's check became very popular. That's what you used to travel. And then suddenly, over the time, it became naira. I mean, it became physical cash. But you see, where the challenge comes for me is like a joke, like a play, like whatever it was, the CBN suddenly abdicated its duty. And why did I say this? You see, I have been fortunate to be into a few countries in the world, and even the ones I've not gone to, at least we can all read. Nowhere in the world is it allowed for people to trade in currency like they are selling akara on the roadside. So we have, the CBN needs to take a whole look at itself again and reorganize itself and now become a proper CBN that will be a bank that can supervise the banks. What am I saying? CBN has lost that power it always had in the past. I can remember clearly when I was still in the bank, there are sanctions for banks that engages in what you call round tripping. But it has become the order of the day. So our challenge is for CBN itself to actually sit down and say, look, do we want to run a naira economy or a dollar economy? And if we're going to run a naira economy, which should be the right thing, then there are basic things that should be gotten right. I see a few policies here and there, but I want to see more. I want the CBN to take a firm stand on how we're going to run this economy. Even the federal government must help. We cannot continue to dollarize our economy and then keep crying every day that dollar is going up. What people are basically doing is speculation. Because whatever we are experiencing today is nothing to do with market forces. Let no one deceive you. Oh, the naira is finding its true value. No. What is going on today is criminality, pure and simple. People are committing crime against the naira and against our economy. So I want the CBN to take a firmer stand on how we're going to run this economy. We want to run a naira economy. If you are having dollars in your hand, physical dollar, it should be in your bank. We've been hearing report. I don't know how you can confirm this, but we've had report that the amount of dollar cash, physical dollar that we have hiding in people's bedroom and toilet and wherever they're hiding it is far above whatever we have as our foreign reserves. And I don't think that makes any sense to me. Individuals are keeping billions in their homes. So we are playing with fire that will burn us if we do not ameliorate our ways. We cannot run an economy on dollar, except we want to jettison the naira and then let's go fully and become a dollar economy. But for as long as naira is our currency, nowhere in the world is it allowed for people to trade currency the way we are trading it in Nigeria. The CBN needs to moderate it. If I have enough time. Okay, go ahead.
Mr. Ayala, we're talking about speculation. This warning by CBN to speculators, do you think it's materializing? And to what end?
Well, I wouldn't know if it's materializing because as at this morning, the dollar still went higher. It's over 1,500 naira now to $1. There is nowhere this makes sense anywhere in the world. So the CBN should sit down and forget all this big grammar. There are simple things to be done. I have a few things here. Let me see if I can quickly go through them. Clearly, I believe, one, what the CBN needs to do is, one, let all, okay, good. Anybody who have dollars in their homes right now must be told you cannot have dollar cash in your home. Let all currencies go to the CBN. Let it become money that works for the people. That's number one. Then we need to ban all cash transactions in dollars. Any cash transaction within Nigeria economic system should be banned in dollars. If you can't do it in naira, then you can't do business here. So, and CBN should work with the bank to ensure that all dollar balances in their account is part of the CBN dollar stock. And then you can now say, okay, if you want to withdraw, there are T+2 clearing days. I mean, the CBN understand what I'm talking about. And also, the beginning of this problem was when the former CBN governor decided to do bazaar in the name of BDCs. So right now, my recommendation will be we should limit the number of BDCs to nothing more than 5 to 10 at the most. All of them must be registered. They should have a certain amount of capitalization. And any BDC that will operate under stringent rules and regulations. You can't sell dollar or naira without documentation. Anybody buying or selling, you must document the way you document transactions in the bank. There must be clear customer identification. Because what has happened is this. Anybody can commit any crime in this country and just go and change the money to dollars. So when this happens, you cannot trace, you don't know where the money is. If a crime is committed today, the easiest way to solve a crime or to catch a criminal is to follow the money. Today you can't follow the money because anybody is selling dollar, anybody go to the market. It's appalling. So all this had to stop. CBN must license whoever will sell and buy dollars. And if you are buying or you are selling, there are simple forms to fill because we need to be able to trace who is buying, who is selling, where is the money coming from, where is the money going to. You can fund terrorism, you can fund banditry, funding all these criminal activities because we don't even know who has what. So this nonsense has got to stop. If we really want to solve this problem, it's not as difficult as we are making it. Because what has been going on is that if you are following the trend, any day FAQ is released to be shared by state, by the next day, dollar price shoots up. So some people just take all their state allocation, buy dollar and keep it under the bed. So money that should be available to help run our economy is not there. So we will address all this if I have enough time, because there are areas where our leaders too must intervene, and the things I think they should do, because we've been lying to ourselves and pretending dollar. There are simple things to be done. We cannot have people keeping money in their homes while the economy is shrinking. Why are people hiding billions of dollars in their homes? And Nigerians are being shouting. So clearly the CBN has its own role to play, but beyond the CBN, the federal and the state government, everybody has a role to play. And I'll be waiting for your questions so that I can tell you what I think each person should do. Because what is going on right now is completely not an economic system. It's criminality, pure and simple.
Right, so gladly we have the time tonight, but we'll deal with whatever the CBN is saying at the moment before we go to what the federal government and the state government can do to, complement all of this effort. But with the official rates now roughly in line with the parallel rates, for you, is this some measure for recovery of the naira, especially as the central bank clears the backlog of forex demand?
Yeah, I think it's a good idea. What the CBN is trying to do is to close the room for arbitrage. You see, what has been happening in the past is when there is a huge dichotomy between the parallel market and the official market price, people easily do what you call round tripping. So I think this is what CBN is trying to guide against. But like I said, beyond what CBN has done, which I support, I think it's a very good idea, there are other things that should be done too. No transaction in dollar, in naira. Anybody who wants to do business should be able to walk into a bank with his naira component, have a form to be filled. Thank God CBN is clearing all the backlog. When this backlog has been cleared, this is supposed to be the way transactions should be done. Walk into the bank, fill your form, have your naira component. Your bank will handle it, and if there is enough cash in your account, there are ways that you have your funds transfer people to handle this and fix it. But today, people will tell you, oh, there's no money in the bank, so you go and collect naira from a malam outside. Dollar from a... How does it make sense, for God's sake? So I think we need to bring back sanity to how we have been doing business, both between the banks and between the CBN. The insanity that has been reigning over the past few years is what has led us to this inglorious state that we are finding ourselves today. So yes, it's a good thing the CBN is doing, trying to close that gap to reduce arbitrage. But beyond that, we need to still ensure that transactions, businesses are done the way businesses should be done. Every money that should leave or come into Nigeria has to go through the banking system. How on earth can people carry billions and billions and you go to one man somewhere in one corner and nobody knows what the transaction is about? Every transaction should be documented. So, and anybody who have dollar should have it in the bank. If you want to do transaction, there are cards, there are system of transfers that should be documented. How can we just be running? In fact, from analysis being done, we have more physical dollar cash in Nigeria than even the Americans that hold dollar has. How does this make sense? So these are good starting point from the CBN, but I want to see more speed. I want to see people being punished for breaching their ethics of their profession. Banks must be put on their toes to do the right thing.
All right. So, just about 2 days ago, the IMF, International Monetary Fund, highlighted key recommendations to address Nigeria's economic challenges and related monetary policy concerns. Do you strongly believe that the policies of the IMF and the World Bank cannot help us?
Well, I'm the wrongest person to ask this question because my own school of thought is completely anti-Bretton Woods. Whatever they tell you to do, run away from them. Because whatever economy those people put their hands in, I can assure you, IMF, World Bank, they are the Bretton Woods institution. They are called the Washington Consensus Group. Because the way they are designed, they are not designed to help a third world economy like ours. They will tell you, oh, remove this, do this, not factoring our peculiar realities. So if I am taking it, if I'm the one taking the decision, if I'm advising those taking the decision, I will say run away from IMF. Don't listen to them. Anywhere they come, they destroy, and they ensure that they leave behind in their trail suffering, tears, and pain and blood. So I will not be discussing IMF because I see them as nothing but agents of neocolonialism and making sure that third world countries never leave their parlor state. So for me, I really don't see anything they are saying. I don't even listen to them because IMF is a destructive body. The World Bank is a very dangerous body designed clearly to keep the third world in third world situation and even make it worse. If they can even go to the fourth world, they'll be very happy just to extract whatever extractive materials they can get in your land and ensure that they keep you in perpetual poverty, ensure the people are pauperized, and then a few elites are rewarded, and then the madness continue where they met you. So for me, IMF is not a standard that I listen to. It's not something I want to talk about. They are never there to help. Any economy they touch, you can go from Congo to Angola in the past. Go to any country that they have been to and look at Venezuela. Just check out anywhere IMF touches. They leave the place worse than they met it.
So some more issues around the CBN before we move to the complementary roles of the federal government and the state government. The CBN governor, Yemi Cardoso, said the backlog of foreign exchange contract has been worked down to around $2.2 billion after the central bank paid off around $2.3 billion and dismissed another $2.4 billion because of irregularities. For you, what is the CBN looking to achieve, and how long do you think this will go in addressing the liquidity gap?
Yeah, it will go a long way to address it because, like I said earlier on, it is because the CBN has abdicated its role and it has turned to something else. That is why we had this backlog of forwards that has been hanging somewhere, and we are in this situation. So yes, I completely support what the CBN governor is doing. Let us clear the backlog. Let the CBN take its preeminent role again so that every transaction can go through the normal channels. It is because the CBN is not doing its role before now. That is what has given room to this nonsense that we're having, that people have to go through the parallel market. The parallel market should normally serve just a small, minute transaction. Small, you have $100 or $200, quickly go to Malam Abugu and change it there, or go to anybody who sells. Those are the kind of transactions they should be doing. The black market that you are now calling parallel market should not, and I repeat, should not take the place of our banking system. It is unacceptable, it is dangerous, and today we are seeing the danger that they pose. Because the people running it, they are unknown, you don't know them, they don't have any love for the country, they are there clearly in the guise of the old Shylock. So we shouldn't be having transactions, real transactions, real businesses, we shouldn't be having them done through this parallel market. So I am very happy the CBN is trying to clear this backlog so that going forward, every legitimate transaction will go through the right channel that banking provides. So that if I'm buying XYZ, it is documented. I'm buying from company ABC, it is documented. The flow of transaction can easily be traced in case there are issues, in case there are deliberate mago-mago like in the Nigerian parlance. So for me, this is the right thing to do. CBN should clear all the backlogs. Then we can then come back to start regulating the banking industry. You see, the CBN became a development bank, which was wrong. You see, it's a good thing for CBN to support the economy, support agriculture, support anchor borrow and all these things. But the CBN should not be the one doing it by themselves. There should be bodies really put in place for such circumstances and situations. What the CBN should do is support it with money and expertise, and such bodies can now be supervised by the right people. But when the supervisor himself now become the one running the transaction, how do you know what is going on? That is why we are having silly stories today of 6.2 million being removed without somebody knowing that their signature has been used. This is the nonsense that has gone on in CBN over years. We've been hearing over 1.1 trillion has been spent on agriculture, but we can't even see it here. Today we are talking about food crisis. So the CBN should never have turned itself into a development bank. It should be a bank that supervises what is going on in the banking system. So the CBN should go back to its job. Let development banks and other bodies like Bank of Agriculture, like some other bodies, like the almost destroyed NASA, that all the story that comes out of that place has been criminality and stealing. Those are the things should be reorganized. Let the CBN supervise whatever is going in there, and then the CBN should not be the one doing the job of anchor borrower and all those development banking that they've been doing in the past 8 years. This nonsense has got to stop. That way, you can easily supervise, check, and then you can audit whatever happens anywhere. But when the one who should supervise is the one doing it, who audits the supervisor or who will audit the auditor? So this is the challenge we've been having, and this is why we are where we are today.
I get that, but let's quickly talk about some prudential requirements outlined by CBN to banks. One of them is practicing natural hedging by borrowing and lending in the same currency to avoid currency mismatch risk. How feasible is this?
Well, that should be, I don't know how feasible is it, but that should be the right thing to do. It is the hedging and this betting that it's betting really, you call it hedge, but you are betting against this will happen. So these are the challenges, and that is why we're in this mess. So I think it is the right thing to do, and that is how it should go. We should hedge against one currency. This currency mismatch is why we have this dichotomy and arbitrage that has cost us so dearly. And today, everybody is groaning under the weight of the bad things we have done to ourselves in the past few years.
Mr. Yalowo, let's take a break, and when we come back, we will move on to other matters. Tonight, we're discussing dollar illiquidity and matters arising, and I've been speaking with Ayobami Yalowo, a development economist, as our guest for tonight. We'll take a break, and we'll be right back. This Stay With Politics Tonight. Welcome back, everyone. This is Politics Tonight. Thank you so much for staying with us all the way. Tonight, our focus is on dollar illiquidity and matters arising. And I've been speaking with Ayobami Oyalowo, a development economist. Mr. Oyalowo, thank you so much for staying with us on the program. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. Thank you so much.
All right, so let's move on quickly. Economists like yourself say commercial banks in Nigeria have profited massively from forex revaluation gains since 2023. So let me ask you, do you think there are too many commercial banks in Nigeria?
No. I don't think we have too many banks. When I started my own banking career, we had 89 banks. I think now we have about 34, 35. So I don't think we have too many. For 200 million people, we don't have too many banks. What we have is there is no supervision for the banks. We had Joseph Sanusi, a very fine gentleman, when we first started this democracy under General Olusegun Obasanjo. Then we had Professor Soludo. Then we had Sanusi. After then, we have not had a serious CBN governor. What we've had has been a joke, and I'm sorry to say this on air, but it's been a disaster in the last administration with the man who ran the bank. Because why did I say this? I remember when I was on the bank, if you are caught doing what you call round tripping, the bank get punished. And there are different levels of sanction for different level of infraction. But for the past 8 years, under the man who is now standing trial for all manner of corrupt charges, we didn't have a single bank punished because it was free for all. This is why I am angry, because every sensible adult in Nigeria should know that there are supervisory role for CBN that needs to be carried out. But CBN completely jettisoned its role and it just jumped into the fray, and this is why we are today. So I want the CBN to go back to what it used to be, a CBN that is supervising banks, ensuring banks are there to correct standard practices. We didn't have that under the man that left. I don't want to call his name because I am really trying to be very civil because I'm on air. What I witnessed as a former banker is a disaster that should never be allowed in any country that sane people are inhabiting. We had all manner of nonsense, illegality, all because the CBN jettisoned his role and allowed everybody to be running headless without anybody telling people to do the right thing. So I want to see a CBN that will sit in his role as a CBN and ensure that banks do what banks ought to do. So we don't have too many banks. About 35 banks, for me, is not too much. In fact, we can have more. But what we need to have is a CBN that is completely sitting down there as the head and doing what it ought to do, ensuring that standard practices are adhered to.
Right, so let's lay it bare. And this is about talking about going back to what the CBN used to be. The central bank will hold its first monetary policy meeting since July on February 26 to 27. What are your expectations?
Well, because of the challenges, my expectation, I think they are going to raise the rates to a large extent to try and curtail the insane level of inflation we are having. Then after some time, I see a stability maybe in the third quarter, starting from the third quarter. I think we're going to start stabilizing and getting better because the CBN will have to, from what they are doing, what the leadership of CBN is doing now, trying to clear the backlog and all the mess that they met in that place. By the time they are able to clear all the backlog of FX and then begin to ensure that banks take their preeminent place and we do not have to do transactions in billions from one malam or from one man that we don't know their names in the name of BDCs, then they're not even BDCs. Some of them are not even licensed. Most of the people running around now are not licensed. So you don't even know what is going on anywhere in the foreign exchange market. It's a jungle out there. So this should be stopped forthwith. Let the CBN license a few BDCs that they can control and ensure that they are there strictly to rules and regulation. If that is done, I see the CBN, after their MPR, I mean, they're going to have the monetary policy, okay, it's MPR, the monetary policy meeting soon. When they do that, I'm sure they're going to raise rates, and like I said, which is not going to be uhuru yet, but if they stick to this narrow path they have decided to put themselves, which is the right path, maybe by the third quarter, when they will have another one, we should be talking of more stability in the financial sector.
Right. So earlier you talked about whether or not we should be operating a Naira economy or dollar economy. And for you, you've said CBN must make that decision now. So that would lead me to asking for your opinion on the amendments of the Foreign Exchange Act or the CBN Act 2007. What wonders can this perform, especially for the amendments of the CBN Act to prohibit the use of foreign currency in local transactions in Nigeria?
Does it really need an amendment? The act is already there. It is because we flout all rules and regulation. Every transaction, I've been to some countries, I don't want to mention on air, and then because, of course, we're traveling for Nigeria, we went with dollars, and you try to buy things in dollars, and they tell you, no, we don't take that here. They will tell you the closest bank is so-and-so, go change it, take our currency, then come and buy there. That is what sensible countries do. But here, even Nigerians themselves are pricing goods and services in dollars. I saw one house, I won't mention the area, they finished, I was trying to take a renters there, and they gave me I can take anybody there as a witness. They gave me the price of renter in dollars in this Abuja. How sensible is that? So we cannot run our economy like people who don't have sense. We have to tell ourselves the truth. So yes, the CBN Act of 2007 should be enforced to the letter. Every transaction in Nigeria must be carried out in Naira. Then, like I said, all dollars in the system should be withdrawn and brought back to the banks. If you need dollar for the legitimate transaction, there are ways to handle it. After the grace period has elapsed, anybody who is caught with dollar should be treated like a criminal. And I also say this on air. If you report a crime of dollar theft, the police should arrest you as a criminal. They shouldn't even look for the money because you're not supposed to have dollars in Nigeria. So yes, that CBN Act should be fully enforced so that this sanity we are trying to bring back will prevail. But until we do that, we will continue to have the level of insanity we have, and then we are all complaining. Everybody has been complaining, but everybody wants to profit from the criminal act that is going on. Until we all tell ourselves the truth. Everybody is shouting dollar is high, but everybody wants to make sure that they're able to. In fact, I keep seeing people say, oh, go and change your money to dollar. By next week, it will go up to. I mean, what kind of people do that to themselves? And then still cry that there is problem on ground. Who do that to himself? You keep, like Yoruba say, you are stealing your own potash by yourself. You are doing yourself, and then you expect somebody else to cry. It doesn't make sense. So we need to get back to the basics if we want to find lasting solution to our problems.
Thank you for your perspective so far. Let's now move away from the CBN. How do you react to the rising cost of goods and services in the country?
Yeah, let's start from food, which is the biggest challenge, because I'm a Yoruba man, and my adage says that when hunger is taken away from your poverty is almost completely solved. So the food inflation we are having now is because we are a country of people who like to be wicked to themselves. And I'm going to explain it to you. If you remember during the COVID-19 problem in 2020, an ordinary face mask that cost 15 naira, we started selling it for 5,000 naira to ourselves. And then we will say, things are high. But who is making it high? Nigerians are the ones doing themselves. This morning, you can go to the market and you buy a cup of rice for, let's say, 500 naira. And then suddenly, all the marketers will call themselves. By the time you go back by 12 noon, they will change the price to 2,000 naira. And then we will shout, it has gone up. So I am fully in support of what the Vice President said, that we are going to have a regulatory board. Because Nigerians themselves have proven that we're people that cannot regulate ourselves. We are very recalcitrant. And I'll give you another example. We are people that when there is a red light on traffic, driving in traffic, somebody that will still run the red light like a lunatic, as if we don't know that the next thing that can cause is an accident. But that is who we are. So you have to practically force Nigerians to do the right thing. Yes, dollar is high, but how does the price of dollar affect the price of water? Water that you are bottling in your home. Suddenly, we have increased price of water. and then we say it's dollar. So we have increased the price of tomato, and we say it's dollar. We have increased the price of gari. Are you importing the gari, or are you buying the cassava from London or America? So this is the kind of problems that you will come across when you have a people who themselves don't like themselves, who want to profit from the pain of other people. People who have built their houses in the last 20, 30 years will just wake up tomorrow and say we have increased rent because dollar has gone up. This is the kind of people we are. So there must be some form of regulation to ensure that we do the right thing. But aside that, the food inflation can easily be handled if, one, states start to do their job. I saw some governors of a particular party claiming that there is problem in the land. But this governor did not tell their people that, one, in the past, how many years have we had 30,000 naira as minimum wage? These governors, half of them, if not 80% of them, have not been paying that minimum wage as we speak. I think it is the PDP governor, I think so, yes. They have not been paying minimum wage. Go to many of their states. I will use one small example. Look at the Bayelsa, which is a PDP state. Bayelsa has 8 local government. Bayelsa will owe salaries, they will owe emolument, they will owe pension, they will owe old people their gratuity. And then they will come back and say, the federal government is causing hardship. But you have not paid salaries. And you know that if you pay salary to your people, you pay pension, you pay gratuity, and you do project, money will come into the system and people will have money. Why don't we have money around? Because when cost is rising, the only way to keep it down or to make it amenable is for people to be able to buy. But when you don't pay salaries, you don't pay pension, you don't do project, when you collect your FAC and you go and change it to dollar and keep it under your bed, and then you are shouting, is it Tinubu that will come and pay the pension of your state people? So these are the challenges. Our governors have completely abdicated their roles. I told some of my friends yesterday, I said, look, the federal government does not have an inch of land. Every land belongs to the state and local government. What are our states doing to drive development and to drive food security?
Right.
None of
So,
the states is interested in agriculture.
Mr. Ayalawo,
Okay.
we'll come back to that because that's a big conversation. I would like us to dwell on that for a minute before we leave tonight. I mean, you raised the point earlier, and this is because there's been this argument about who takes the blame, government or the sellers. Are you saying the sellers should take the larger portion of the blame?
Am I saying the who?
Are you saying sellers should take the larger portion of the blame when it comes to rising cost of food in the country?
No, seller. I am not here to apportion who takes the blame. I've just told you the challenges of everybody. If the government, especially led by the state governors, have been able to drive agriculture and we have enough food, then you can now sit down as a state and say, look, all the rice produced in this state, we will buy it at this social price, and then we will sell at this social price. That way, you are able to keep the price within acceptable limit. But the state governors have refused to remember that they are part of the government. They actually see themselves detached from the reality. So they think the problem should be thrown completely to Abuja. So the state government must take a larger role in ensuring there is food security in Nigeria. So why we are having this problem is because nobody is doing anything about solving the problems. So the marketers just sit down. Just today, I was sitting in my group. Somebody said cement was so and so XYZ amount in the morning. By evening, they have increased it. What exactly is driving the price of cement up? Are we importing the cement? No. Are the cement that we are buying, are they produced in Nigeria? Yes. All the raw materials for the cement, are they imported? No. Everything used in the cement production is gotten locally. So why is the price of cement moving from 5,000 to 8,000 overnight? We are just a bunch of wicked people that like to wicked ourselves. So why our government is being irresponsible? We, the people themselves, ourselves, are being wicked to ourselves. So it's a conundrum. So we must sit down and have this honest conversation. Why are we being harsh and wicked to ourselves? I understand there are some materials that you cannot handle. For instance, I know bread sellers are complaining. Yes, but anybody who has been following, you know that we have not been producing any wheat in Nigeria. So most of the wheat of the world, about 70 to 80% of the wheat that the world is eating, not just Nigeria, comes from two places, Ukraine and Russia. And those two people have refused to have sense to stop fighting themselves. So the price of wheat have gone up. So what should we have done as a country? it is understandable that some part of Nigeria can actually support the growing of wheat. But what are the state governors doing to see that my own state will be the highest wheat producer in Nigeria? They don't care. They just collect their FAC, change the money to dollars, and then go and sing Umbaya, and then we're all shouting there's problem. Until we begin to take ownership of our problems, we should grow our wheat so that the bread price will come down. Some states led in rice at the time. We had the Kebbi and Lagos State competition that produced lake rice for Lagosians. Where has that plan gone to? There are rice mills open all over Nigeria. They are not getting paddy rice to mill. Where are this rice being, where are they? So these are the problems that we have refused to face. Everybody wants Abuja to solve their problem. States should sit down and begin to think of how to produce food. Make sure that I take care of my state, and then when it comes to policy issue, leave it to the federal government. But in terms of production, food especially, the Nigerian state governors have been irresponsible for too long. We need to call them to order. Begin to produce food for your state. Many of them don't even pay taxes. They don't pay salaries. So where will the solution comes from? So these are the challenges that we have refused to look at. Everybody is just sitting down and complaining. We have become the #1 country of complainers. Nobody wants to solve the problem.
Mr. Ayalawa, thank you so much for going there, because, it's a fact that every state in Nigeria can boast of at least 2 products. Or at least
2 agricultural products, yes.
Right. For Niger State, for example, is the world's largest producer of shea nuts butter. Ondo State produces 65% of Nigeria's cocoa, and Nigeria is rated as the world's 6th largest exporter of cocoa. How do we hold these state governors accountable?
That is why I'm saying it on air, so that Nigerians will hear. Go and hold your governors to account. They have not been doing anything. When we had the federation when we are doing regional government, the Southwest government, it wasn't Southwest then, it used to be the Western region. They were the largest producer of cocoa in the world then. That is why we have the cocoa house in Ibadan. Today, our state governors don't even know what their state can produce, because they want to collect FAC, change it to dollars, and do nothing. So Nigerians, please hear me out. Your governors have been very wicked to you, and I will explain. Since the federal government took out subsidy from fuel, your state governors have received at least more than 60% than they used to receive in terms of their allocation. They are still not paying salaries. What is the use of a governor that cannot pay salary when even some states were collecting 1.something billion, now they are collecting 5-6. Some states, especially the ones that they are oil producer, look at data. Bayelsa State, for instance, it is the highest collector in terms of FAC. It is the smallest state, yet that state has plenty problem that is not solving. So how will you solve problem when you have more money than that was coming in? You must give it to this government. Since they remove subsidy, our governors have had more money coming to them. But trust me, they have done nothing to touch the life of Nigerians. So everybody is sitting in their home and cursing one man as if he's the cause of all the problem. Yes, he caused some of his own problem by removing the subsidy and not telling Nigerians that, look, your governors have more money. Go and hold them. He has even given some palliative. When they gave palliative in terms of grain last year to governors, we didn't see anything. We didn't see. They gave to some senator in December. As we speak, we have still not seen many of them. In fact, we didn't even know, except a few senators who are honest, said they gave me so and so and so to shout to my people. So this is the problem. So Nigerians need to know that our problem is multidimensional. It's not just one way. We have plenty wicked people that are in power and they are not caring about the people. But when election comes, they will tell us, come and vote for us, because Tinubu is the only problem of Nigeria.
As we wrap up tonight, we can wrap up with this, Mr. Ayalawa, but then let's be very specific. What kinds of targeted interventions do you expect from state governors to their people?
Okay, firstly, like subsidy has been removed, I expect state governors, one, because they have more money, I expect, one, they should pay all the allowances and salaries they are owing. Secondly, I expect them to intervene in terms of public transportation. If public transportation is working, there will be less reliance on buying fuel for each and every car on the road. Then the punishment will be reduced. Then I also expect just 3 things. Pay salary. I expect intervention in transportation. I expect each governor of each state to look at what can my state produce, and we have what we call comparative advantage. Drive that aspect of development. Drive it. If it's rice your state can produce, drive it massively. And finally, I expect these state governors to do a lot of infrastructural projects and development. When you do that, what that means is that there's more money in that state for people to spend. If you do infrastructure, artisans will get money. The Yaoni rice that will come and sell rice there will make more money. If you pay salary, fathers will be able to pay school fees of their children. I mean, there will be multiplier effect. But the governors have not done anything. People must know that your governor have received at least 60% more than they were receiving before the removal of subsidy. But your governors have done nothing to ameliorate your pay. Apart from just 2 or 3 states, most other states have been very wicked to their people. They don't even pay salaries. That is how evil some of these people are. So these are the challenges. Pay salaries, drive whatever produce is your own biggest advantage, and finally, let there be intervention in terms of transportation and infrastructure, and you will see a lot of difference from where we are to where we will be going in the next short days if the governors decide to become governors, not just money collector every month.
Very emotional one there. Thank you so much. Thank you. I mean, that's needed because Nigerians are really, really struggling out there. Thank you so much, Mr. Oyalowo, for joining us.
I'm a part of Nigeria. We are all struggling. So we need to tell ourselves the truth.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Tonight, we're focused on dollar illiquidity and matters arising. And I've been speaking with Ayobami Oyalowo, a development economist. Thank you so much for your time tonight. Thank you. I look forward to more conversation. And thank you very much for watching. That marks the end of today's episode of Politics Tonight. But the conversation continues from here. Get in touch with us on Twitter at TVC News NG and at Olajumoke WO using the hashtag Politics Tonight. We're also on YouTube at youtube.com/TVC News Nigeria. I am Olajumoke Olatunji. I'll see you tomorrow. Good night.
Thank you.